We're back! Slam Pigs Union Smack right here at Hibiki TMD. Once again with me as always, the Maniac Matt Tennant has returned. Welcome back, my friend. Where can everyone catch you? What you do?
Good to be back, Travis. It seems like it's been a year again since we did the last one, but we've got some good old Summerslam action coming up, and you can check me, of course, on Twitter at the Perfect Tenant. You can find me over at WrestleTalk.com every day, and you can buy our official t-shirts at unionsmack.bigcartel.com, and that's the Union Smack shirt, and of course the official Hibiki TMD shirt, which looks fucking amazing, by the way.
One thing, you, Matt, you designed it, so good job. And all you guys have picked up. Yeah, there you go. Have picked up all the merch. Thank you guys very much. As always, follow me on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD. Hit that subscribe right down below. Man, we got a lot to talk about this week. First and foremost, don't adjust your dials. It's not a rerun. Yes, we understand SummerSlam's over, but we'll get to it later. But we could talk about SummerSlam 93 in December, like I tweeted out the other day. So it's great pay-per-view. Get at that later, but last night, All In. Everybody's talking about it still today. Everybody was all in. There's your pun of the day. Good show. Very good show. For those that have been living under a rock in the pro wrestling world, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, the Elite, all those guys, they're little, call it Indie Mania now, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get All In too. I would say this was probably a success.
Yeah. Like I said to you, I didn't see all of it because of prices and streams, etc. But what I saw, loved. It's just nice to be able to pick up a different promotion, Travis, and not have Michael Cole on commentary and not have, Roman Reigns every 10 minutes shoved down your fucking throat. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I came in at the Cody Rhodes Nick Aldis match, which I'm glad I did, because Nick Aldis's NWA World Title run has been fantastic for me. I've really loved, not just because he's a Brit, but it's like the title meant something again. It wasn't just flitting between nameless wrestlers that you'd never heard of. It was on someone who was at least something in the industry, and he made something of it. And so I enjoyed that. I knew Cody had put himself over because of the whole "it's my dad's belt" thing. It's like he was never not going to lose the match. But it didn't blow me away, the match. It wasn't bad either.
It was fun. I thought as a whole, the match, the ending, everything, it worked out fine.
Yeah, I mean, bringing Paige in, and Dallas Page, not SmackDown Page, obviously. Bringing DDP in to the whole thing, and Sean Davari. Why not?
Why not?
Throw him in as well. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a nice little tribute to Dusty Rhodes. That he's won the belt, his son's now won the belt, and I like the Bulldog Bret Hart SummerSlam 92 ending they did.
Yes.
And
those kind of finishes are always great because they come out of nowhere. I think that's why. I mean, the crowd would have popped huge anyway, but that pop when Cody got the pin was in fucking Sam. One of the top pops of the year in any promotion. I feel like that's why.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it just lent to the atmosphere, as did Chris Jericho's, I won't say return, let's say surprise appearance, and it's hard to categorize All In because it was wasn't amazingly spectacular, but it was very, very good,
Dare I say it was needed? Because I feel like, I don't know if you've ever called a JCW show, like the Insane Clown Posse. It's like a big party, right? But it's a bunch of people. It's about the event. I feel like this is kind of like a gathering or whatever in JCW, but done right, where the wrestling doesn't blow. And it was good enough to where, I mean, there's some phenomenal matches on here. Kenny Omega and Pentagon had a hell of a match. For all the no-selling, it really was a good match. Of course, it was well-rounded. I think that's what it was. You had your entertainment spots with that Battle Royal with the Tommy Dreamer and Billy Gunn spot, like we talked about off air. You had your wrestling clinics. You had your shock moment with Jericho. You had the biggest one of all. I think what sealed the deal was the feel-good Cody Rhodes stuff. As much as I put it out on Twitter, don't shit on Fritz Von Erich and Vern Gagne because Cody did the same thing. It really he had to win that match, and I'm glad he did. Because the moment is going to go on God, this sounds cheesy, but that moment's going to go on forever, and it was really good. And you
It will.
don't get very many of those anymore, so hold on to those moments in wrestling when you get them.
Indeed. And can I just say the Flip Gordon thing as well, like him finally making it onto the card. That was a nice feel. You know, it was like we've been fed this story, but not mainstream for weeks and months, and he never made it, and now he did, and it was just like I wanted him to beat Jay Lethal. I'll be honest. I know you love him. I know you love, Black Machismo, but I wanted Flip Gordon to win the title, but just because it was like he's made it this far. What a perfect ending that'd be.
Yeah. A lot of people calling this the biggest indie show of the year. Let's be honest. They had some backers, Sinclair and all those. We talked about this off air also. This kind of is like reminds us of the Super Clash special pay-per-views back in the day when AWA World Class, Memphis would all get together. This was the modern day equivalent of that. You had Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But really good.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend, even if, and I'm the same way, some of the being the elite stuff is cringy, and we've gone over the disdain for because we're purists and old school. We get it, but there's not a lot of that on the show. This was taken serious. There's classy moments. There is some Joey Ryan stuff that
Yeah.
and the booking
Menendez
was a little weird
Dixon.
to end the show with the 6-man. I guess the name of Mysterio. It was a rushed finish. It kind of seemed like the show ended abruptly. But other than that, no
It did.
complaints. Like, all in, thumbs up for me.
I agree, and you're right, Travis. It did end abruptly. They finished with, I think I read, less than 10 seconds to spare, so that's why it was rushed. But good show, and I enjoyed it. But can I just say, I enjoyed it until I got onto Twitter this morning and saw fucking. And honestly, if you're one of these Twitter people, then just stop listening to this now because you're not our audience. They were saying, do you know what people were saying, Travis? It was like the last 4 Money in the Banks have been better than All In. And it's like this WWE pay-per-view much better than All In. And it was just like, no. I appreciate that you're so devoted to WWE that you want to stick up for them, but how can you compare that product in 2018 to, any independent product from Ring of Honor, New Japan, anything like that? It's just don't speak unless you know what you're talking about.
Exactly, and they should be saying NXT shows, not because I still think one of maybe the best show this year, besides like Dominion or Wrestle Kingdom, was Takeover New Orleans.
Yeah,
I still feel like New Orleans was a better show than this, even though this was really good.
Yeah, and I mean NXT blow it out the water every time. Every time. There was one takeover I didn't particularly like. I can't remember which one it was. It was Cassie Sono versus Velveteen Dream one. It's like I didn't particularly think that was amazing, but all the rest of them, you can't fault them. NXT takeovers were better than All In. Any WWE main card pay-per-view, no, sorry, you do not know what you're talking about.
Well, Matt, on the other end, we go from All In to, unfortunately, All Out right now for Toni Storm, who's recently suffered an injury. She had to vacate the WXW Women's title. Not out for too long, but still out for now. Let's get into it, man. What's going on with Toni Storm?
She got through to the finals of the NXT UK Women's Championship Tournament against Rhea Ripley, who, in case people didn't know, spoilers, Rhea Ripley is the new and first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. It was towards the end of the match. We've not seen it yet, so we can't say exactly what happened. She took a bump, and the ref had to throw up the X sign. And the end of the match didn't go as planned. It's like they had to change it on the spot. Rhea Ripley had to just pin her. It was done. And now we're getting reports through Travis that it's a spinal injury, but it's not a bad one. It's not going to keep her out for the rest of the year. She will be at Evolution to compete in the finals of the Mae Young Classic.
Another spoiler alert, guys.
Yeah, sorry, we're giving you all this. Hey, Travis, there might be spoilers, but fuck, at least no one died this week before we recorded.
Oh yeah, the no eulogy, guys. Sorry to
plus.
disappoint you at the beginning of this week's episode. The streak is over.
It is over. People will take spoilers over eulogies anytime, I think.
But we kind of screwed ourselves because I feel like next week 3 guys are going to drop.
Sorry, there'll be a bus crash. Take a fucking lot of them out. You watch. Anyway, yeah, it's a spinal injury. It's not that bad. WXW said, and this is just what I know and have heard from reporting on it during the week, that they stripped her of the title because they believed she was going to be out 4 months, and they didn't obviously want the title away from television for 4 months. But it's not that bad, and yeah, she'll be back before October.
The injury took place actually against Rhea Ripley, who, from what I've seen, injured somebody else a little while ago too. Are we turning into the female equivalent of a Mark Henry or a Mabel or, dare I say, Seth Rollins? I know Rollins got a bad rap. I'm kidding on that one.
I hope she's not, because she's a good talent. We've not seen a great deal from her apart from last year's Mae Young Classic, but I think Rhea Ripley has the ability to be the top heel of the division if she's booked right, and we know she's going to be, because it's Triple H, it's NXT. I think she's going to be something special, Travis.
Yeah, I agree, and I think anyone that's really means that about her, like injuring people like that, it's not ballet, that old thing. These things happen.
Yeah.
She didn't do it malicious. It's just, and her and Toni Storm are both so young. It's amazing. They're light years ahead of where they should be for maturity wise in ring to begin with. So,
agreed.
Get well soon, Toni Storm.
Absolutely.
It is time for your official NXT UK spoiler alert. If you don't want to know, skip ahead about 5 minutes. Matt, what's going on in the UK?
NXT. Honestly, you don't really need to skip ahead 5 minutes, Travis, because these tapings, which took place at the end of August at the Insomnia Gaming Festival in Birmingham, England, I feel like the first set of tapings NXT UK had in Cambridge were like, oh my God, what's it going to be like? Who are we going to get on the card? Will there be any surprises? And that sort of carried it through. But like looking at the spoilers for August's tapings, there just wasn't really that much. And I'm sure there will be like when they record again at the beginning of August. But I felt like this one was the lull. It was the calm after the storm. It's centered around the NXT UK Women's Championship tournament. We had obviously Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm. We even had Millie McKenzie in there. She went out. She goes out first round. Spoiler. Sorry. Should say spoiler before I give it, shouldn't I?
Probably.
I'll try and do that next time.
Well, they already got the alert, so they're not even listening right now.
Yeah, that's true. Pete Dunne did compete, but he only competed in... Yeah, he did. Yeah, he competed in 2 matches, sorry. He teamed up with Tyler Bate to take on the Coffey Brothers. And then he defended the NXT... And do you know what? I'm going to call it the NXT United Kingdom Championship, because that's what it's going to become when they start. So he defended the NXT UK. Fuck that, didn't I? The NXT United Kingdom Championship against Jordan Devlin in what people said were like the highlight of the 2 nights.
Sorry, Matt, real quick. I haven't even really thought about this. It just hit me. If I'm any wrestler and I beat Pete Dunne for any belt, I'm going to request that a new belt get made as much as they're in his mouth to begin with.
Yeah.
It's pretty unsanitary, Pete. I'm just saying.
I think that's why they've made him wear that mouth guard from his entrance onward. It's like, we don't want your teeth marks in the belt, and we don't really know where that mouth's been after the show ends. So
think about all the meet and greets he does for signings and how many people touch the belt when he meets. So he just throw it in there, put it in your mouth.
Yeah. We don't want a Page situation with the WWE United Kingdom Championship. We want it sanitary.
But no, I did see some highlights on Twitter from the Jordan Devlin, Pete Dunne stuff. I can't wait to actually see it like officially.
I agree. And you know what, Travis? It dawned on me today as we record this, which obviously is Sunday for people listening. Pete Dunne today has been champion for 470 days. He is 34 days off of breaking Brock Lesnar's record. So I'm quietly confident he's gonna do it and become the longest reigning WWE champion of any sort of the modern era.
And I don't think anyone will ever hold the UK title as long as Pete Dunne did for the history of that belt. I'll say it now.
No, no. It's like you've got something special with Pete Dunne, and we've sung his praises possibly on every podcast we've done since we got back. I'm not sure. We might have done, but he is something special, and it doesn't matter who takes that belt off of him. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Zach Gibson, but even then, it's like people are willing to sit through, a year, 2 year reign with Pete Dunne because he's such a popular guy and he's such a good wrestler, and his character. It's like, even though he's meant to be babyface right now, he still borders on that. He could turn at any minute, you know. And I just love the fascination about him, and I don't think anyone else on the NXT UK roster's got that right now, especially not, at least not to that level.
No.
And I just don't
Maybe
think,
Tyler Bate. Maybe.
maybe, but not quite to the level Pete Dunne has.
No.
And it's like,
It's
who
all
else
about
is ready?
mystique with Pete Dunne.
It is. It is. And who else is ready? Let's be honest. Like, you could give the belt back to Tyler Bate, but I think he's now more of a tag team wrestler than a single star. You could give it to Trent Seven, maybe, but then I feel like it's going to flounder. Jordan Devlin's a great talent, but he's nowhere near. You know what I mean? The popularity level that he needs to be to take the belt. It's just like you've got this wonderful roster of talent, but none of them feel ready yet to step up to a Pete Dunne.
They don't feel seasoned enough as a Pete Dunne. And another thing, which was really smart, to give that, it was a quick way to give that new belt some history already with that streak behind it.
Yeah.
It was very smart, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because then it makes it feel important.
Go.
No, I was just saying, then it makes it feel important that way.
Oh, it does, absolutely. And I'm going to go as far as to say Pete Dunne is the modern day Hulk Hogan of NXT UK. It's like he's got the reign, he's got the popularity. Arguably a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan ever was. So,
arguably,
I'm trying to appease our audience who are long-time fans, Travis. The die-hard Hulk Hogan fans will go, he'll always be the best wrestler in the world.
Well, you came at the Twitter people earlier. Now it's my turn. If you're listening to this and you would ever assume that Hulk Hogan was better in ring than Pete Dunne, just turn our show off now. We're not the show for you. I would equate him to like maybe a Steve Austin too, with the attitude and just that tweener character who's untouchable. And
I agree. And can I just say that I forgot to mention to you off air, but you might have heard the rumours that there's a possibility, and it's only a possibility, that at some point the NXT UK brand will be getting their own takeover, and it will be Takeover London.
Oh, that would be great.
Just like, wouldn't it? It's like, but I do fear that if that ever happens, the belt is coming off of him. Whether somebody's ready or not.
All good things must come to an end eventually. And you have a network. There's no reason they shouldn't and can't do that anyway. So
Exactly. And I think we're definitely, I don't know the exact dates yet, Travis, but we're definitely getting NXT UK on the network before Christmas.
I would hope eventually, with all the tapings they're doing, by the time they come out, it's like no one's going to care, I guess, because it's such old news.
They've already got like a good 2 months worth of tapings in the bag, so
they need to get on it.
They do. It can't be like last year where we're building a brand and it's took them a year and a half to get there.
And that takes us to our last news segment this week, Matt. Speaking about taking forever to get somewhere, Neville is finally, he's free man, Matt.
Yes. And do you know what? Congratulations to Neville, I think, because he's been sitting on the sofa at home for nearly a year now, not being able to do anything. WWE just wanted to keep him there, really for the sake of keeping him. If it had been anyone else, they'd have released him from his contract and he'd have been in New Japan or wherever, last December. But no, they wanted to keep him for punishment, and I think it finally decided that his contract's going to come up anyway. He's not actually going to re-sign like they might have hoped he would. Makes sense, Gets him off the payroll so they can put someone else on it.
Yep. And I think it's also they know how talented and special a performer he is, so that's why they made him sit out too, just to be dick.
Yeah, yeah. And this is WWE. Of course, they were going to do it to be dicks.
A lot of
You know,
people assuming like where he's going to jump. We're not going to do any of that. Like, well, where's he going to go? I just know that I'm pretty certain wherever he's going to go, he's going to be happy now at least.
yeah, yeah. And can I just quash any rumours that he's going to come to World of Sport Wrestling over here? You know, I know it's been popular on ITV, and maybe we should like spend an episode reviewing that down the line, Travis, when the whole season's finished. But it's how can I do? Have you seen any of the World of Sport Wrestling?
Not modern, like old school.
No, it's not aimed towards wrestling fans. You know, it's not like All In. It's not aimed at the hardcore base. It's more wrestling for entertainment purposes only. You know, it's in a way it's better wrestling than WWE, but the way it's presented, it's like we want it for more of a family,
Yeah,
dinner time. You know,
a throwback
entertainment thing. Yeah, yeah. In a way, it reminds me of Gladiators. You know how it's presented, and
there you go. I have to check out some more modern episodes of that. Yeah, we can definitely talk about it in the future. And yeah, it's big time news with Neville. It's going to be definitely interesting to see where he ends up. And I feel like any promotion be asinine not to push the shit out of him, put him up towards the top of any card. He's that good.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt, when we come back, God, I'm rubbing my hands together. I've never been so excited to review the retro pay-per-view. Where are we headed this time?
We are headed to SummerSlam 1993 in Auburn Hills, Michigan, which I always thought, Travis, sounded like the poshest place in America when I was a kid. It's like Auburn Hills. That sounds like it's got mansions and everything in it. And then you realise when you grow up, it's like, oh, it's in Michigan.
Yeah, you realize.
So probably not.
Yeah, that's because I'm from America. Like even as a kid, I knew hearing the words Michigan followed by Auburn Hills, I knew it was crap. So shout out to you guys in Michigan. Please come back for the second half of the show. When we return, Slam Pigs Union Smack. Stick around with us.
I'm the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and you're listening to the Union Smack podcast.
We are back, Slam Pigs Union Smack. Let's hop aboard, get on the Lex Express, get our ticket to ride. It is time, finally. SummerSlam 93, Matt. Let's do it. Let's dish. Let's get into, at the time, one of the most hyped main events I can remember as a kid. I was just, this build for Lex and Yokozuna was, that was just, it was a good build.
To me with noises. It was a very good build. I think they desperately wanted Luca to be the next Hogan. I think that came across as like, this is the American hero against the the foreign champion, the invader, the monster. And people bought into it. And it wouldn't have been as successful, I don't think, if people hadn't have bought into it. But WWE really put the time and effort in. The Lex Express.
They bought a bus, for fuck's sake.
They bought a bus. They decorated it. It was a work of art. It was that thing was a work of art. Like I appreciated that art more than anything Luger did in the ring. It was just a wonderful piece of. Oh, I wish I could buy that bus and just keep it.
I wonder if they have it at like one of their warehouses where all their old stuff.
I bet they do. Or they sold it off and just it's just touring America now, just as some old battered broken down.
It's like Aerosmith's bus now or something.
I
wonder if those USA pillows are still on there for Steven Tyler and Joe Perry to.
But they kept him just like, Luger.
It's taking place from glorious paradise itself, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Matt.
Yes. I think we've said enough about Auburn Hills before the break.
Yeah. Like you said, SummerSlam 93. This SummerSlam, we actually both watched the DVD version of this that we both have.
Yes.
Mine's from the anthology. I don't know if yours is like a single. edition?
Mine's like they brought out years ago here like all the SummerSlams, Raw Rumbles, WrestleManias, and like 2-disc editions, and they called them tagged classics.
Very nice.
So I watched mine's with SummerSlam '92. So
nice.
Always good to break out.
Does your edition kick off with a little clip of Mean Gene narrating how the Lex Express came to be to Auburn Hills, Michigan?
It does, and then that bit ends with the Lex Express rolling into the arena.
I did not get you mean into the actual arena where the ring is?
No.
Or just like showing, okay, yeah, because mine didn't have, I'm like, where'd you get, no, yeah, but it does just, it ends with, there's the arena. I thought you meant he literally drove it down. Like, no, what fucking edition are you watching? The Ultimate Edition?
I like your little silence there. It worried me. I thought, fuck, have I watched the right event for a minute then? But yeah, it rolled into the parking lot, the garage, whatever you want to call it. And there was just all these kids waiting outside for him. And I mean, it was nice. Like, looking back on it when I was a kid, it was like, oh my God, Lex Luger's arrived. Now it's just like, we bought into that, Travis.
And now looking back, it's like, oh, he showed up. Damn it, I wish he would have called out sick that day. But also, that shot of him with, like, the kids surrounding him, they were totally doing the Hogan thing. Because there was that, they always use that clip of Hogan on that motorcycle and the kids swarm him. Like 100 kids. And it felt like that.
Yes, it did. It did. And again, credit to WWF for, like, building him, to the point where people thought this could be our new hero. Can I just say, like, as much as I love the Lex Express, I didn't love it 4 times every 30 seconds from Vince McMahon's opening speech. It was like 4 of his sentences began with Lex Express. Just in case the month and a half worth of hype didn't get over. Just in case it hadn't sunk in. It's like, Lex Express. Yeah, we get it, Vince.
They always did a lot of this too back in the day, like this vignette at the beginning. They'd always show like Hogan or Savage or one of the top baby faces with like special needs kids or handicapped kids or mentally challenged kids. It's like, how dare you boo a baby face that would do that? And back then it worked. But now, like, if they did that stuff with Roman, I think people would resent WWE for trying, because it's so see-through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it'd be like, how dare you use the handicap to try and get this prick over?
But trust us, guys, we will recap how we came to be from Narcissus Land to the Lex Express later on. But first, one of maybe his very last match, at least televised in the WWF ever, kicked off this pay-per-view. Ted DiBiase, this angle also built up, a very well built up angle, the transition from Razor into a heel to a babyface with the 1, 2, 3 kids match and all that stuff. This was the blow-off match in that. Razor and Ted DiBiase, white tights, angelic Ted DiBiase, you could say, in this match.
Yes. I was sort of sad when I realised this was Ted DiBiase's last WWF match years later, because you didn't get that as a kid. You just thought, oh, he's not around anymore. But then when you look back at it, it's like, fuck, this was his last WWF match. And I've checked, Travis. If you go on to, there's a website called Cage Match, and like it's got a list of everyone's matches they've ever fucking had. And so, yeah, this was his actual last WWF match, if I read the website properly. He went to AWA after this. Not AWA, sorry, All Japan after this.
For the tag tournament, right?
Yeah, with Stan Hansen. But fuck, it was like, we're actually watching his last ever, should we say televised American professional wrestling match?
That's fair to say. And I'm mixing up my SummerSlams too. The white tights was the year before, I think, in '92.
I thought so. I was sitting there going, dare I correct him or not?
I just want to cover my ass on the tight color of a grown man.
It was his usual black tights, yeah.
The match, exactly. DiBiase's obviously out of his prime at this point. I think what was his back was why he retired, basically. Some nagging.
Yeah, it was.
Still a good performance by DiBiase in this, I feel like. I think it's exactly what in my head I would envision it to be if I just saw it on paper. And the crowd was totally into Razor this time. One of the few good calls between 93 and 95 by WWF to transition Ramon to a babyface, because you could just see it at WrestleMania 9 against Bob Backlund, and Backlund was a babyface. Ramon was supposed to be the heel. Ramon was one of the most over guys on that entire WrestleMania card that day.
Yeah, he was. And I think some people like Scott Hall and the Razor Ramon character were born to be baby faces, you know. And I loved him as a kid. I'm sure you loved him as a kid. And it was can I just be, it was criminal that neither he or Ted DiBiase were WWF champion.
Yeah, big time.
Like criminal. Like Ted DiBiase was one of the greatest heels in the business. You know, of the late 80s, even early 90s, when he wasn't really a single star anymore, and he was only really doing the Money Inc. thing. It's like he was still one of the greatest heels in the business. His laugh, the way he looked, made you hate him, but the talent was just amazing. And
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like they were smarter. DiBiase got his own belt made for him, and it was like with his character, the rich man. Well, he can just buy any belt he wants, so he always kind of had that as a crutch. But I feel like, especially in like the beginning of '95, Razor Ramon should have been the world champ.
yes, yeah, I agree. And there was no reason not to. Like you'd already had Bret Hart as your champion. He was a small guy. Scott Hall wasn't the biggest man. You know, he wasn't jacked up or anything. He looked good.
It's pretty big. I mean, he's like 6'7".
He was 6'7", but like he was no like he wasn't muscle bound. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so basically, what I'm trying to get over is like you had Bret Hart as your champion. There was no reason you couldn't put the belt on Scott Hall because he was of that ilk. You know, he wasn't massive, but he could still work like a dream.
Always a bridesmaid with Scott Hall. Literally the only member of the clique, if you count Just Incredible and X-Pac and that's whatever, but the only one to never win a world title was Scott Hall. You got even Triple H eventually.
Yeah, he won the WCW World Championship though, but
Did he? I don't remember that.
did he not? I'm sure I saw he beat Sid Vicious.
No?
I might be daydreaming.
He was always the perennial US or Intercontinental guy. Upper mid card for life. See what I did there? Spun it all together. Talk about for life. Talk about long lasting. Talk about standing the test of time. This next match is one of it's got to be my top 5 tag team matches of all time to this day for what it did for its time. But before we get to the Steiner brothers and the Heavenly Bodies, we got our best buddy at ringside, Todd Pettengill, with the Steiner's mother and his sister, or the sister and the mother. Todd doesn't know. He can't keep up. But you got the Steiner's mother and the sister in a cringy fucking. Even as a kid, I was like, come on. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like the sister was wearing the exact same studded star black shirt that Elizabeth was wearing at WrestleMania 7. I've always wondered that for years. Is that shirt just in wardrobe from when these women you bring in come on TV?
But it must be. I talk about not giving a shit. It's like the mother didn't give a fuck, did she?
Papa's at home sick. He's not feeling very well.
And then Todd was asking her questions, and she was like, "Yeah, whatever you say sounds good." It's just like, get that camera out of my face.
Even the way Pettengill, and God, I hate Pettengill, but he worded this like he was reading The Three Little Bears to children, like Papa Steiner, Mama Steiner. Fucking shut up. Just shut up. I'm sorry to get so heated, but it's just Todd Pettengill, man. But this was, they talked about, you must have, the poor sister of the Steiners. No man could be good enough. Your brothers pretty much beat their ass, is what he said. She was like, yeah. And the Steiner sister, the best part of this, she broke kayfabe and she called Rick Steiner by his actual first name. She called him Scott and Rob. It's like, whoopsie. So even as a kid, I was like, who the fuck is Rob? Who's she talking about? I don't know if you call it that, Matt.
I think she got very carried away with her role. It was like a small role, but she built it up to be something more than it was. And I got the impression at the end when the Steiner brothers, the Heavenly Bodies, interrupted her with the music, it was like, oh, I wanted to carry on talking.
Yeah, and she just seemed so part of the act by the time the Heavenly Bodies came out. She even took her thumb and was like, get out of there. It was awful. It was like a mom at a Little League baseball game where she wanted to cheer against the other kids, but she didn't want to be too mean. I was like, what the fuck? And when she said Scott and Rob, by the way, you could just probably picture Vince under his breath, like, God damn it.
The backstage, cut her off, play the music. I would have liked to see the camera stuck on them, though, afterwards when they thought it was over. The mother just elbowing her going, what the fuck were you doing? Do you need to play up to that?
Well, no, Vince was we didn't even mention the commentary team for this. He was on commentary.
Yes, he is. Yeah. And we can all be thankful for that, can't we?
At least Bobby was there.
Do you know what? There were times in this when Bobby Heenan even couldn't save it. It was like Vince McMahon was so cringy as a commentator, and I've said this on like previous podcasts. It's amazing how what's the right word? Iffy he was as a commentator, but then such a fucking good talker when he was a heel. It was like, why couldn't you bring that to your commentary?
He may be to this day the most predictable color commentator ever. Like the near falls with Vince is what kills me. When he calls a near fall, it's like you always know the guy's not going to kick out the way Vince words it.
Yeah, he kills the match with his commentary.
But even Vince couldn't kill this tag team match, Matt. What a classic this match is.
It was, and I forgot how good this was. As much as we knew it off by heart, the event, I hadn't seen the event maybe 10 years in person, and I forgot how good this was. It was so good, Travis. And for people listening, it's the Steiner brothers versus the Heavenly Bodies for the WWF Tag Team Championships, and wow.
For anyone that's ever only been exposed to Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, this is a reason why you need to go back and check him out before he transitioned to that, before the injuries over the years, and let's say the steroids, eventually made his body just tighten up and be able to barely do a headlock.
Yeah. And you know what? Scott Steiner, and people can attribute it to the steroids and the drugs and whatever they want, but for me, he was always a much better tag team wrestler than he was a singles performer, because he had like Rick there to help him, and they could tag in and out when they got short of ideas. It's like there's some Scott Steiner singles matches where you look at it and you think, yeah, he could really do with a tag team partner right now.
The visual and the character and the unpredictability of the Big Papa Pump character, he was definitely credible for me as a world title guy. The problem was, if he would have had this kind of in ring with him, we could probably still be talking about Scott Steiner's championship run to this day. It could have been that good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If he hadn't have taken the steroids, and they were steroids, let's be honest, you don't get that body by just training in the gym every day.
That, and also, this match is a point in case too, just beating the hell out of your body for years.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did. And this was a brilliant match. And match of the night, I think, for both of us, Travis. You need to go and see this match.
That's not debatable. Also, that weird time with the Smoky Mountain Wrestling, WWE, like cross promotion stuff, they were the Smoky Mountain World Tag Team Champs to try and capture WWF. So that was smart too for Cornette's little promotion to get new eyes on it. It definitely made me know who Smoky Mountain was as a kid to this day. The matches like this. Jimmy Del Rey, and the late Jimmy Del Rey, I do want to say, very underrated performer. He started his career as a job guy in like NWA as Jim Backlund. I don't know if he was supposed to be billed as related to Back, but he was like, his character was just an amateur wrestler because he was an amateur wrestler. But my God, the Gigolo, man, that guy was great.
There was some, and do you know what? There was some great fucking characters, weren't there, around this time? It's like Heavenly Bodies, Steiners. They were just. It's hard to describe, Travis, as like lifelong fans of wrestling to someone who's just come in, like how good some of these characters and teams, etc., were. It's like, because people today have been fed on Roman Reigns and John Cena, and it's like, no, like these are the real wrestlers. Like, this is where the real wrestling was. I don't know. It's just difficult.
Yeah. And people are like, well, Joey Ryan does the sleazy gimmick so well. Go back and see Jimmy Del Rey. I think he does it much better.
Oh, yeah.
I think the fact that he's like somewhat overweight too when he does that gigolo shake just makes him like the ultimate sleazy. The match ends. Phenomenal match. Steiner brothers get to win it. One of the best Frankensteiners I've ever seen. Literally drops the man right on his head, and that's that, man. Crowd goes nuts. Obviously, they're wearing. This was a great Bobby line. They're wearing the Michigan College colors, gold and blue. But Bobby said yellow. The school's colors yellow, and Vince yells at him, and that was funny. Where did that take us to, Matt? Next, Matt.
That took us to Intercontinental Championship time. Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect, and what a letdown.
It's time for a complete 180 with my excitement.
Yeah. And you know what? You say these two names in any sentence, and it'll be like, well, that must be a great match. And it should have been. It just didn't work on this night. It It didn't. Mr. Perfect was, as far as my memory serves me, almost done with WWF. Didn't he leave just before Survivor Series?
Yeah. He came back at WrestleMania 10 as the guest referee, and then
That's
went
that's
away
right.
till like 95 Survivor Series as a commentator.
Yeah, and I mean, with the in-ring stuff, he was done with the company. And I thought, I think if he'd have been, I don't know, happier, signed to a long-term contract, could have done it anymore, whatever you want, this would have stole the show. It would have stole the show from the Steiners and the Heavenly Bodies. It just didn't. It was like, it seemed like it was going to be a slow burner.
Yeah.
But then it just ended, and it was like, well, that didn't actually lead to anything then.
Let's talk about, as much as he was, what's crazy about this too with Perfect, as much as he was winding it down, right? And it felt like, let's say it, we said it when we reviewed these UK exclusive Coliseum home video, phoning it in more at this point in his career, it's fair to say. He was probably booked the highest on a card ever at any point. He was one of the most prominently featured baby faces, one of the most popular acts. He was on the Super Nintendo Royal Rumble commercial, for fuck's sake. Nobody else was.
Yeah. And it's crazy that he was, I don't know, that pushed for a baby face, but wasn't that into doing it anymore. You know, it's like, I wanted something more from him, Travis. You know,
this was Sean doing all the work. Let's say it.
It was. Yeah. Again. And it wasn't the Mr. Perfect of 89, 90, 91 anymore. This was, and he looked it. You know, how many times over the last few weeks have we said he looked like he didn't want to be there?
And this is the second biggest show of the company of the year, so that's a red flag that he probably doesn't want to be there. We didn't even mention this before we analyze the match anymore. We got to put on the brakes. From the blah 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 Screaming Eagles, Matt, Joe Fowler, welcome for the first time and only time to commentary. Who the fuck is Joe Fowler? Who is this annoying little man, and why is he on my television?
Annoying little man. I have no idea. It was just like, popped in, popped out again, like, leaving everybody at home thinking, well, who the fuck was that?
Vince was so excited to throw it to Joe Fowler for this. Like, he must have paid a shitload of money to take him away from that college baseball team he announced for to get this gig. He's like, well, we got to get our money's worth. But I didn't hate the backstage segment with Diesel and Shawn. They always had great backstage segments, I feel like, at this time. Shawn just exuded that cockiness, the epitome of that word, cockiness, with Shawn Michaels at this time.
Yeah, and it's probably best they didn't let Kevin Nash speak, let's be honest. Like, he looks much better. He looks much better standing there.
And plus, with Kevin Nash, he quite frankly, he always cut a much better, like, cool, calm dickhead. Every time he cut a yelly, old school promo, it was bad. Like,
yeah,
just awful.
Agreed.
The match was built around Mr. Perfect doing the three-peat, and this was probably the first time I ever remember somebody bringing this. I think he was the first guy to go for the three-peat for their Intercontinental title. And boy, did they drill that home during this match. Take a shot every time you hear the word three-peat, you're dead. You're going to die from alcohol poisoning, Matt.
Well, there you go. This podcast took a dark turn very quickly.
Hey, Halloween's next month, man. Just getting ready.
That is true. Forgot about that. Maybe, do you know what, Travis? Bright idea. How about we do a Halloween Havoc for Halloween next month?
How masochistic can we be for the spirit of Halloween? 95.
Ugh.
Monster trucks. Mummies.
Well, there you go. That's settled. That's something for everyone to look forward to, Travis. Halloween next month. We're doing Halloween Havoc 95. See if we can survive that.
God have mercy on our eternal souls, man. What have we even done? I take it back. No, but this match, dare I say, the most unforgettable match for both of these guys' career.
Yeah. Unforgettable? Did you mean forgettable?
Forgettable, excuse me. Not Halloween Havoc 95 is fucking me all up now. My mind's all over the place.
I was actually going through this move for move, thinking, was that unforgettable? Was I missing something? But no, you're right.
No, Joe Fowler's annoying little voice is unforgettable. That's about it.
This was worse, I think, than... Well, that's a harsh word, worse. This was more pointless than Shawn Michaels versus Crush at King of the Ring, I think. Because at least with Crush, you got the feeling that maybe, you know, Mr. Perfect, you just got the feeling that, is this done yet?
At least after that match with Crush, after the Smaj finish, Crush came back in and beat Shawn Michaels' ass. Perfect just like ran backstage after Diesel after this DQ finish or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It's
We
like
kept calling Diesel Hands of Stone, by the way. How's that feel, Ronnie Garvin? Where are we at next? Is it time for Broadway with Brett?
Stop it, hang on.
Matt's lost it, guys. I've made him officially lose his mind.
I have. Oh dear God. Can I just say to everyone listening to this, I love doing this podcast. Just want to put it out there. Oh, okay.
All the Ronnie Garvin references you can handle, pal. Buckle up.
Next up was 1-2-3 Kid versus IRS.
Oh, that's right. That's how memorable this fucking match was. I wanted to go right to Brett.
This was complete superstars wrestling challenge, whatever you want to pigeonhole it as. You know, there was nothing more to it than filler, basically. And it didn't interest me, Travis. I'm not sure whether it interested you, but I don't know. Piss break for me.
As a kid, I absolutely adored the 1-2-3 Kid. He was the coolest thing in the world to me. I can't. Is this when he got the prank pulled on him and had his eyebrows shaved as a rib backstage? They're like, he was curling him back or something. But backstage, our boy Joe Fowler again cuts an interview with the Kid. Maybe X-Pac's worst promo ever. He was talking about how he's nervous, and so I don't know if he was doing it purposely to stutter and stuff. If he was, then awesome job. But if not, shit promo. Flat, just awful. Like just. Oh my God. You could tell he was. It was his first pay-per-view ever, so the butterflies had to be there. I feel like.
Yeah. He needed some more of that weed. Let's be honest. Like, just calm the fuck down and just don't think about what you're saying. You know.
Great.
Sometimes I felt with Sean Waltman like it was better when he was stoned.
Oh yeah.
You know, he was much like more laid back, much cooler, much like I don't care. I'm just going to talk. Some of his promos as X-Pac were brilliant. You know, this was just shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
And there was a great line in here too from Bobby about how, Kid better hurry up and finish the match. It's almost his bedtime, and him and Razor Ramon can compare the evening with his Yoo-Hoo and his bottle of cerveza. That was great stuff.
Bobby Heenan on commentary. It's like, could he be even? I don't know. People say Jim Ross, but for me, like Bobby Heenan could possibly be the greatest commentator of all time.
As the asshole color guy, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Do you think that he had it all down, didn't he, Bobby Heenan? Like, greatest manager of all time, greatest fucking color commentator of all time. It's like
he really was a national
fucking
treasure.
bloke.
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck, I wish I could be that talented.
This match felt like a squash match, though. Like, did the Kid get any offense in?
I think he got. Was there a spinning heel kick somewhere? It's like that. I'm struggling to remember this match, Travis, because it was that dull. I'm sure he got a few kicks in, a few punches, but this was IRS's match, and IRS won with a lariat. And the best part about this match for me was the brain scan at the end. I used to love how he'd just draw shit on it. He just patterns, words, just anything.
And then Heenan would eventually leave by 94, and they would transition that to the Royal Magistrator for Jerry Lawler. The same exact gimmick, they just changed the name.
Lazy fuckers, aren't they?
Well, Vince wanted to get his money's worth out of fucking getting the John Madden thing, so. IRS getting the win with one of the worst finishers ever, the write-off, which is a clothesline. Not even a good clothesline at that.
That's it. Just a simple. It always seemed like he was not. He was just tapping them to me. There was no real force behind. I've never been a fan of the clothesline as a finisher.
No, if it's like JBL or Stan Hansen, then yeah, that counts as a finish. But this, yeah, I agree with IRS is always like, tag, you're it. The way he hit him, like, barely.
I agree with that. Yeah. Oh, my God. Do you know where that took us next, don't you, Travis?
Well, I did mention the name Jerry Lawler.
But even before Jerry Lawler.
Oh, crap.
That took us to Bruce and Owen Hart out in the crowd.
Oh, yes.
With Todd Pettengill. Todd Pettengill, I'm going to say, was the Lord Alfred Hayes of his time.
Alfred Hayes is like Jim Ross compared to Todd Pettengill, I feel like.
Oh, do you not listen to Todd Pettingill's podcast then, or radio show, or whatever he's got these days? I'm sure he's got one of them.
Where he's actually entertaining because he's being himself, not being fed lines from Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
it's not bad. I've caught an episode here or there.
I'll have to go back and listen to that. At least with that, you can't see the fucking awful cheesy grin on his face, just like that permanently fixed Joker smile, like somebody's going to shoot me if I frown.
Plus, you could tell like his little ego trip. Yeah, the longer time he was in the company, I don't know if he would, because he was on the road so much with the boys. Like he would think he was one of the boys. He started growing out a long mullet over time. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I remember that hideous mullet. The fuck was he thinking?
Bischoff did the same thing. He started trying to be dressing like a wrestler. This was insufferable. And by the way, Owen Hart had a dark match on this with Barry Horowitz, right? And The Rocket had been a performer for at least a year before this with High Energy as a singles. He had a match at WrestleMania with Skinner a year before. Introduced as members of the Hart family. How does that feel? How does that feel? You're on the fucking roster, and this little prick is introducing you as a member of your brother's family.
Yeah,
can't imagine where they came up with the shadow angle with heel Owen from. My God.
Can you just imagine how he felt? It's like, not even WWF superstar Owen Hart.
Yeah.
Just member of the Hart family. Like, you're nothing.
Way to umbrella me under the same thing as fucking Bruce, who didn't do shit for the company. He always was in these little angles at ringside. He always ended up looking like a schlub. Fucking Bruce. Yeah. Let's get to Bruce. Talk about jealousy. Talk about bitterness. I always, any chance to throw Bruce hard under the bus, I can. This was that beginning of the phase for him. Those little, like you would see it with like in '97 with the Austin stuff. He'd be at ringside attacking Austin, stuff like that. It was just that start that like he had to be in the line because he was so bitter about how Stampede Wrestling ended and how Vince took everybody else except him and all that shit. The culmination of it.
Do you know what, Travis? I love it when you go off on people. It's like, you don't even
he deserves it. He wears sunglasses in arenas, for fuck's sake. Can't be fucking bothered to take off the shades. Too cool for school Bruce Hart. Should have been his gimmick. Maybe Vince would have taken him then, because he would have been somewhat fucking entertaining.
Good, Mr. Charisma as well. It's like, he had none, did he? It was just, fucking horrendous.
There's a recap, though, of the Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler stuff, which for a time, Jerry Lawler had some great shots with Bret against Stu and stuff. It was just entertaining. Pretty intense for its time, that feud, Matt.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it as a kid. The culmination, the Kiss My Foot match was, it's one of them defining matches of your childhood when you don't really know any better.
Right.
But this, let's move away from the Owen Hart, Bruce Hart stuff, because Bruce Hart, it could be a cure for fucking narcolepsy. Yeah, Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler came next. We didn't get that match immediately. Jerry Lawler comes out on crutches. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
With the, I like the way that he tried so hard to convince us, but then he had the, what do you call it? The wrap, the bandage, whatever, on the outside. So like he got dressed for the match first, and then just decided, I'll just throw this bandage over the top so everyone can see.
It's like those little things, those little details in like a movie where it's a pretty decent action movie, but there's little details that make no fucking sense. It's like that.
Yeah. Like in Gladiator, like there's a fire extinguisher or a gas canister in the chariot that you're not meant to see.
Right.
Just stuff like that. Jerry Lawler says he's been in a car accident, was it? A pilot, I think.
Hit by some blue-haired little old lady who should have had her license revoked a decade ago, I believe is the quote.
There you go.
Not that I've seen the show a couple times or anything.
Yeah, we believe you. Gets Doink to take his place. We get Bret Hart versus Doink as the sort of opening match to this middle card segment. And like I said to you before, Travis, for me, Bret Hart anchored the card in the middle because two very good performances. Against Doink. When you say Bret Hart versus Doink, you don't imagine something brilliant or marvelous, but actually, it was much better than expected. It's like I've said on this podcast before, Doink was a very good worker when he wanted to be. Like his series with Mr. Perfect in '93, very good. That you still have to go back and check out, Travis.
We talked about last with DiBiase earlier. This is one of the last ones for Matt Bourne playing the Doink.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and it's a shame because I feel like the Doink character took a downturn in quality after Matt Bourne left. And they just got various people to play him. I feel like Matt Bourne was a very underrated wrestler. Whether he was himself or under the wig and face paint, he was still a very good wrestler. And this match, do you know what? I'd recommend you go and see it because it's not going to blow you away. Still very technically good, is what I'd say.
The crowd maybe kills it a little bit, for they kind of die off quite by the mid of this match. Very flat crowd, which made, especially for '93, I don't know, any era maybe where a guy's in 2 back-to-back matches like that. That whole segment feels like one big draggy. I would recommend between this match and the match with Lawler after, this is the one you would watch. The one with Lawler is nothing to write home about. It's good heel Lawler stuff, getting exposed for the knee after Brett beats Doink. Finish with that as Brett beats him clean with the sharpshooter, but refuses to let go. Now, we saw this with Brett a couple times. I always liked this when they did this with Brett. It gave an edge to him, like, don't fuck with me. You don't want to piss off Brett, and they reversed the decision. So Jerry Lawler technically, and it was great. He was stretchered out and puts his arm up on the way out, and that was that. The King rode off into the sunset victorious. A couple things happened, like with the water balloon with Doink on his entrance, goes over to the Hart brothers, and he explodes one in front of a little kid, and it's like confetti. Goes over to Bruce, it's full of fucking water, and it was great. It gets all over Bruce's nice shirt. Bruce slips in the puddle, falls. It's so great. That was the big, long, it seemed like an intermission kind of for the show. There's all the Brett stuff, all of it.
Yeah. I will say, though, that as unspectacular as the Jerry Lawler part of this was, the Bret Hart selling, it's like, there's a masterclass there, for current stars on actually how to sell. It's like he took a beating, Bret Hart, from Jerry Lawler, and he believed it. Again, what another talented fuck. Like, I could sit and listen to his, his promos weren't the greatest sometimes, but I could, like, in the present, I could sit and listen to his stories all day. His selling was just marvelous stuff.
He got a good review match out of Dino Bravo for us on the show. That speaks to the testament of Bret Hart.
He did. He gets the year-end award for fucking Saint.
Where are we headed next? SummerSlam 93, man.
We are headed to a very meh. That's the best word I'm going to use. Meh. Ludwig Borger promo. Wasn't hideous. He carried off what they gave him to say fine in some broken down alley in Michigan. I'm assuming it was meant to be in.
I hope that wasn't somebody's actual house. Like, I would have felt bad for him.
I bet it was. I bet Vince McMahon just find some old dump. Like, it doesn't matter if it's burnt down or if someone used to live in it. That'll do us. It was free. Don't have to pay. That took us to Ludwig Borger versus Marty Jannetty, and I think you'd probably agree with me, Travis, when I say this is when the card started to slowly decline in quality.
Yep, one of Marty Jannetty's worst matches in his career, and really, what a drop-off from the beginning of the year at the Royal Rumble and Intercontinental program of Shawn Michaels to this. Yeah. Marty Jannetty, honestly, always his own worst enemy with the demons backstage. Showing up drunk to pay-per-views doesn't help. He got punished for that. That's why he was actually let go for a little bit. Then he came back, Shawn for the title, and then here he is. This was trying to build up a program for Ludwig Borga and Lex Luger. The problem with that is it's Ludwig Borga and Lex Luger. So I don't think, you know what I mean? They really wanted something here with Tony Hom, his real name, Ludwig Borga. They made him beat Tatanka's undefeated streak, which for its time was one of the hottest things in wrestling.
Agreed.
Match sucked. That's my take.
It did. It was bad by like every meaning of the word. Jannetty made a somewhat of a comeback. Wasn't really much. He was a punching bag, really. Let's be honest. The match was made just to make Ludwig Borger look strong and a powerhouse. And he won by submission. That's it. It's like we don't have anything else to say about it.
Yeah. Flat out.
It's one of the matches you'd expect to see on a World Tour compilation tape.
WWF would always do this stuff before, like the week before a pay-per-view on USA. They do like the SummerSlam Spectacular, like you know what I mean, like the go home show.
Yeah.
It should have been on that. Like, why is they should have just had the promo from Borga and give the IC match a little bit more time. Maybe Perfect wouldn't have phoned it in so goddamn much.
Yeah, I agree. No one needs to see Ludwig Borga on the main pay-per-view ever. You know, I know he was a former IWGP Tag Team Champion, whatever, but you know what I mean. Accolades and power sometimes don't make us the athlete.
Not at all. I am dreading what lies around the corner next, Matt.
So am I. I just want to say, should we just skip over that and go to the last two matches? But I suppose we've got to touch up on it. Do you want to do it?
Let's do it. You wrote a book.
Okay, next we had The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez in what WWF billed then as a rest in peace match. Now, and I've written this in the book, so expect more on this when you buy it, because you're all lovely people and I'm sure you will. It's out, I'm thinking November, Christmas time now. Just waiting on a certain someone to do the introduction, Travis. And this was built for weeks and weeks, and they didn't tell us what the rules were going to be. And I feel like they led us
astray,
like lambs to the slaughter. It was like they made this feel like it was going to be such a special match, you know, rules we'd never seen before or heard of before, and they gave us a no disqualification, no count out match. It's like, was that it?
At least Kamala got a coffin.
Exactly. It's like, if you seriously had months to plan this, and that's the best you've got.
A lot of people don't realize The Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez, maybe his worst feud of all time, was like an 8 or 9 month feud. This started at the Royal Rumble, for Christ's sake.
Yes. I always question the let's call it the nous of the booking team who watched this match go on at WrestleMania and stink out the place, and then thought, you know what will be really good if we put it on SummerSlam as well. It's like, gee, fucking hell. 8 minutes this Travis went as well. I timed it. 8 minutes of our lives that we're never getting back.
It felt like 6 days. Just to see the mobility of Giant Gonzalez. Each footstep feels like a week.
It was punches, it was chokes, and it was nothing else. That was it for 8 minutes, and it was rotten. It was rotten to the core. It was a worthless piece of shit match that I never want to see again. I never want to read about again. I never want to write about again. It was awful.
We will never speak of this atrocity again. The less said, the better. Let's just move. Undertaker wins. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, Undertaker wins. Thankfully, Jim Cornette's on hand in a Yokozuna interview to lighten the mood, and he's marvelous in this. Like, and I love Jim Cornette anyway. Like, I don't listen to his podcasts. He always makes me laugh when I'm feeling down. But like here, wow, you know, such a fucking good talker. And for me, I don't recall him drawing breath in the minute and a half he was speaking.
He doesn't do that to this day on his podcast.
God, I love that bloke.
This was right at the beginning, too, and I agree, he was on fire for this, so you can see why they made him the figurehead for the WWF champion.
Yeah.
Right, he was only around for, 2 months? He came in June or July, 93?
Yeah. It's a shame. They should have used him more. You know, they should have used him more. He was at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
By Yokozuna's side. But, do you know what? What a wasted opportunity. You know, it's like you could have made so much more of him, but you didn't. And then again, you put him with Vader, like, a year and a bit later, when Vader came to the WWF. You give him to Vader as a mouthpiece, and you still underutilise him.
Yeah, by the time they actually gave Cornette a stable of his own, it was Camp Cornette, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
It did. They did not utilise what they had. And what they had, for me, and people will disagree, you could disagree, but for me, it's like Jim Cornette was right up there with Bobby Heenan. as a manager, as a mouthpiece. You know, he's like, I really couldn't choose between the two.
And
that's just me, you know?
Different styles, but both so, like, sharp and witty.
Yeah, exactly.
Both of them are undeniable. You can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? It's a shame they never really got to sort of manage different wrestlers on opposite sides in the same match. You know, it's like, I'd have loved to see that on the main WWF or even WCW stage.
Cornette had an offer to come in '86 and he turned them down. What could have been? Other than that, really, there's a 6-man tag here, Smoking Guns, right?
Yeah.
Tonka and Bam Bam Bigelow Head Shrinkers. Pretty decent 6-man tag match. I don't have a lot to say. This could have been on a Monday Night Raw or Superstars 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just be honest, it was a decent match. Could have cut the pay-per-view time down had this Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez, Ludwig Borger, Marty Jannetty all been cut from the card. You know, it could have been a much better pay-per-view without all these.
I wouldn't mind just a singles match in a program with Bam Bam Bigelow at this time and The Undertaker. That would have been great.
Yeah, at least Bigelow could fucking work more than Giant Gonzalez could.
I don't even know if those two guys ever worked together. I have to go back and check that out.
I'm pretty sure there's a compilation tape somewhere around 94 where they had a match. I don't think they ever worked together like in a proper feud. Not properly. Of course, Bigelow had that like run in at the Royal Rumble '94, but yeah. I'm pretty sure like around 94, beginning of 95, somewhere there's a compilation tape with them on it.
Well, so, there you go. That's why you got 9 questions right in a row on Trivia Mania, because of knowledge like that. Congratulations. Moving on, Matt, to the second round.
Yes. 1998 next time. So anyone listening to this who's going to listen to that, don't expect miracles, because I'm very hazy on 98. It's like a lot of Attitude Era, a lot of NWO. It's just, let's see how it goes.
And we saw how it went with the Lex experiment. Of course, Matt, that takes us to the main event time, right?
Yes, it does. Could have been so good, Travis. You know, they had the build, it had the hype. Lex Luger versus Yokozuna for the WWF Championship. What can you say? It's like, it's what wrestling's made of, isn't it? It's like this hero who is battling and fighting for the the honor of the country against this massive, monstrous foreign heel who, you know, just wants to keep basically the country's title, and it could have been so good. You know, it could have been Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant-esque, and they fucked it up.
I think that's exactly the blueprint they're going for, too, their next Hogan and Andre, and they did fuck it up.
Yeah.
You can't have a build that long and just schmoz finish. Count out.
No.
The biggest thing from Lex when he came in as a narcissist was that bionic forearm or whatever. He had the metal in his forearm. He was knocking guys out with that as the narcissist. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the build-up going to this, Cornette and, you know, Camp Yokozuna requested he had it covered up, so he went into it. But, like, I think the ref took a bump in this. Lex took the chance to take the pad down, and he knocked out Yokozuna with it. And that was the finish. Yokozuna fell on his ass on the outside and he just took a nap.
And they celebrated 18 minutes. Can we just tell everyone, Travis? 18 minutes this took. And it was 18 minutes of, let's be honest, not very exciting action at all.
No.
It didn't matter to a degree, because I think the moment and, you know, the build really meant more than the match. And
the match didn't matter. Fans were just waiting on the moment Lex finally beat them for the title.
Yeah, agreed. So we can't berate the match that much because it was all about everything else. But they didn't get it. It was like, you felt cheated in the end. I've sat through months of this. I've sat through 18 minutes of boredom. Let's be honest. There was a big fight feel about it, but apart from that, it was mostly boring.
And I guess I see why they did it, Matt. Like, they didn't put the belt on here. Keep the chase going. There's money in the chase with the babyface. But Lex Luger wasn't an interesting enough character to keep investing, to see him keep losing and not winning it. He had to get the belt first, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. It was the same thing when he didn't beat Ric Flair for the title in, Jim Crockett promotion / WCW. It's like he's gonna keep being the man that never quite makes it.
They should have did it in '88 when Lex was on fire. They waited till what, '90, when it was
Yeah,
nobody cared anymore. You're right.
that's it. Yeah. I would have put the title on Lex Luger here just to see what happened. I feel like Yokozuna was winding down really in interest. After he lost the title to Bret Hart WrestleMania 10, like that was Yokozuna really done for me.
As a top
I know
guy, yeah, I totally agree.
yeah, like he'd stick around for another year and a bit, but interest wise, top guy wise, he was done then.
Yep.
So maybe it would have done him better had Luger won the title, and then Yokozuna had the. You know what I mean? Yokozuna had the chase back for the title. That would have kept him more interesting, I think, than what they did with him.
They went on all out on everything on this with the Master of Ceremonies. Randy Savage had been relegated to like a mascot for a sports team at this time. He introduced Aaron Neville to sing the anthem, which was why Aaron Neville. I mean, if you're gonna have someone sing any anthem for any country, they should have a strong voice. I mean, Robert Goulet sang it at WrestleMania 6, and it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
All this build, and it's like people talk all the time how great of a businessman Vince is. Not stuff like this. It's just like you invested all this money into the build for the Lex Express, and just for this finish, and it was a bad call, flat out. There's no arguing that. I feel like they should have just went with it. Vince did this all the time. He did it at WrestleMania 10 when it leaked that it was going to be Lex beating Yoko first, and the whole coin toss, and he changed that I feel like Lex, that was probably a case of this too. It's always been rumored that Lex was supposed to win, and the dirt sheet leaked it, so Vince changed it. Is changing a rumor because of a dirt sheet, which in '93, like maybe 80 people knew about anyway, compared to how instant news is now? Is it worth squandering all your money? No, not my opinion.
It's not. It's not. And let's be honest, this result killed Lex Luger. It killed the character. It killed the interest in him. Even when he led the Survivor Series team against the Foreign Fanatics at the Survivor Series, 2-3 months later, it was just like, he doesn't seem like a main event talent anymore.
I don't think this moment killed the interest flat out yet. Their booking would do that later on when they put him in the Royal Rumble with Bret Hart, and Bret was obviously the more desirable for fans at the time, and fans booed Lex. But this was the start of the sizzle being taken off of Lex, big time.
I see that. I just think this was like he's going to do it. That they've put so much into him. We've invested so much into him. And then it's like he wins and fucking celebrates like he wins the title for some reason.
That made him look like an even bigger asshole with the balloons and the Steiners. And
But for me, it was just like, if they're not going to put the title on him now after so much hype, and like after I've bought into him so much, then I'm not bothered. Because it's like, why am I getting invested again 3 or 4 months down the line for the same to happen? And it did happen at WrestleMania. Didn't even put the title on him then.
Nope.
So, do you know what? Obviously for you, Travis, like, the interest waned later on, but for me, this killed Lex Luger for me. It was like I just wasn't invested anymore. And like at Survivor Series that we've just talked about, The Undertaker seemed much more of a main event star than Luger did. And Luger was the captain of that team.
I've always thought that the reason they put Taker on that team was to make Lex look better. Kind of like what they do with the Shield and Roman now.
Yeah, well, Roman's Roman, isn't he? It's like...
Saw how well it worked for Lex, and we're going to see how well it's going to work for Roman. So.
Yeah.
All it's going to do is make the fans turn on Rollins and Ambrose. Roman. That's all this is going to do.
I think... I don't know. Honestly, I want to say this is leading into an Ambrose heel turn somewhere. But it's like, when do you pull it? Like, when do you pull that trigger?
It's really scary that WWE in one fell swoop in the past week, in one episode of Raw, took Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Braun Strowman, the three most popular guys there, say, in that company, and just made the fans confused in one fell swoop. We don't know how to react for any three of these guys anymore.
Well, Braun's meant to be a heel now, isn't he? Like, and that's done, so he can lose at Hell in a Cell, lose the Money in the Bank opportunity, and it doesn't really affect the babyface.
Imagine turning Steve Austin heel right before the match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. That's how much fucking sense this makes to me.
Also, though, like, they've not, as far as I know, and I've been reporting this week, it's like they don't have any plans for Braun versus Roman going forward after Hell in a Cell. From what I'm hearing, it's going to be Roman versus Drew McIntyre, which is an improvement for me.
Yeah.
But then they've also got plans, Travis, for a very, very long Roman Reigns title run. So Drew McIntyre is not really going to profit from that.
You know what? I can't say much. At least the champion's actually there now, so that's something.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, it's be careful what you wish for, isn't it? It's like people wanted the title on Raw now. Now they've got it. It's like, but Roman's the champion. Like, yeah, he's the champion, but the title's there. You know, what would you rather have? Roman, someone you hate, as the champion, or Brock Lesnar champion, and you don't see the belt again till WrestleMania?
You have a case of what happened at SummerSlam. The fans chanted, "You both suck. You both suck." And now you compare that to what we saw last night with the magic moment with Cody Rhodes. That's where we're at in pro wrestling right now. Flat out.
Yeah.
It's corporate filtered bullshit in WWE, basically. It's not organic.
And everyone can see through it now, apart from those who have got their little blinkers on and think it's the best thing in the world. I subscribe to the network. I've got all the DVDs. I've got the shirts. I think WWE's wonderful. Didn't you know what? Fuck you, everyone on Twitter who's like that. It's like, I can't be bothered with you anymore. It's like, honestly, Travis, I feel like there's a multitude of things that have lessened my enjoyment of wrestling over the past few months, and Twitter's one of them. You know?
It's rough stuff anymore. It's half the time those people put out the tweets just for attention. The contrary bullshit. That's see-through too. You know what was wonderful?
Is that they get it. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they get the attention as well, and it's from me. You know, I'm reading these tweets, and I don't want to be, but they just pop up, and I just think, well, that's ruined my day.
You know what was wonderful, and I don't mean Paul fucking Orndorff, but before we get shut down out of time here, this has been wonderful. Finally get to review one of my favorite pay-per-views from that time, SummerSlam 93. Yes. It's in the books, Matt. We did it.
It is in the books. What would you, what's your rating for it, Travis?
C. Just average. I feel like I wouldn't say it's a must-see, but it's like a staple from my childhood, so I can't, like, give it a fail. But I gotta be fair, and you're totally right, and we're gonna have the same opinion. The second half of this card just shits the bed, flat out.
It does. I'd give it a C+ only because of the hype surrounding the main event, which was brilliant. You know, the first half of the card was more than adequate, so I'd give it a C+. But you should have paced this better or cut out the dead wood.
Yeah, flat out. One more time, Matt. Where can everyone catch you?
You can catch me on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant, and watch out during the next week. I will be putting out a poll, Travis, for next week's show. People can choose what they want us to review. You can find me over at WrestleTalk.com every day, and you can buy our merchandise, the official Union Smack t-shirt, the official Big TMD t-shirt on unionsmack.bigcartel.com. And you can, you know what? You can now officially look forward to my book, if you can call it that, coming November, December time. Probably in all the bargain bins before you know it.
There you have it. Thank you, my man, for joining me once again. As always, follow me on Twitter at @TheHibikaTMD. Hit that subscribe right down below. Everything retro gaming and pro wrestling. Until next week, Slam Pigs Union Smack. I'll be your hero.